Hello everyone, welcome to the forum in response to the Human Rights Day, 14th anniversary of the acquittal of Taijimen. Today's title is The Warrior of Dao. I'm the host Jacklin. December 10th is International Human Rights Day. After World War II, the UN has been devoted to human rights protection and development, and published the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in hopes of preventing any persecution of human rights.
The past 2 years have painfully demonstrated the intolerable cost of soaring inequalities. Equality is at the heart of human rights. That doesn't mean we must all look the same, think the same, or act the same. Quite the opposite. It means that we embrace our diversity and demand that all be treated without any kind of discrimination. That no matter who we are, who we love, or where we live, we have equal opportunities to live in dignity and to pursue our dreams. That from the moment we are born, anywhere on this planet, we have the same rights to life, health, and education, to speak our minds without fear, to enjoy our days in a healthy environment. All of us. Equality is about empathy and solidarity, about understanding that as a common humanity, our only way forward is to work together for the common good. But the inequalities inflamed by COVID-19 are pushing us backwards. It is about time we push back and bring them down. On this Human Rights Day, I invite you to join me in lending your name and your efforts to equality, so that we can recover better, fairer, and greener from this crisis, so that we can rebuild societies that are more resilient and sustainable, so that we can stand up for human rights for all.
The Association of World Citizens is pleased to join with many others to strengthen respect for fundamental human rights on this anniversary of the proclamation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Citizens of the world believe that building respect for human rights and the rule of law will help ensure the dignity to which every individual is entitled. As world citizens, we see that the world is moving toward a universal legal culture of world law as represented by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Association of World Citizens has been active in the work of the Commission on Human Rights and its secretariat, the Center for Human Rights, since they moved from New York to Geneva in 1978. The Center for Human Rights, under the leadership of its first director in Geneva, Theo van Boven, has cooperated with non-governmental organizations in exploring new avenues for the promotion of human rights. The Commission on Human Rights has been transformed into the Human Rights Council, and the Center for Human Rights has been upgraded into the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. But in the ways of working of non-governmental organizations, there have been few changes. The Association of World Citizens would like to share 3 advances in the promotion of human rights in which it has played an active role. The first, one of the major advances in the development of the world law of human rights has been to insist that human rights apply to all people at all times. Thus, many efforts have been made to highlight the human rights situations of persons often marginalized or neglected. Major efforts have been made to highlight the human rights situations of women, of children, of indigenous and tribal persons, of the disabled, of migrants, and of sexual minorities. Secondly, in 1998, as the world celebrated the 50 years of existence of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a major resolution called the Declaration on Human Rights Defenders. Officially known as Resolution 53/144, the Declaration recognizes the vital contribution of all persons defending all human rights worldwide. The resolution endows them with legal recognition and calls on states to protect them and their legitimate work. Regrettably, in the 22 years that have elapsed since the declaration was adopted, human rights defenders have been heavily victimized. Some have been threatened or coerced. Some have been imprisoned solely due to their human rights work. Some have had to flee their country, and others still have been killed. Whenever the AWC hears about human rights defenders harassed or persecuted, it writes an appeal to the government concerned, urging for an end to harassment and persecution, recalling the declaration and the formal commitments world leaders undertook in adopting it as a fitting birthday present for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Thirdly, a major focus of the Association of World Citizens has been the encouragement of tolerance and respect in matters relating to freedom of religion or belief. The association was active in the long efforts which led to the Declaration on the Elimination of All Forms of Intolerance and Discrimination based on Religion or Belief, proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly on November 25, 1981, but prepared by working groups within the Commission on Human Rights. Manifestations of intolerance in matter of religion or belief are in evidence in many parts of the world. Religious tensions are an increasingly important factor in both internal and international conflicts. Therefore, the Association has raised the issue both publicly at sessions of the Commission and in private consultations with the representatives of the governments involved. The Association of World Citizens will continue to work in this spirit. On this day, to mark the important advance for humanity represented by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Association of World Citizens pledges its energies to the possibilities of human betterment.
Next, the Vice President of UN NGO Association of World Citizens in Taiwan, Dr. Hong Daozi, also delivered the speech on Human Rights Day. Let's welcome Dr. Hong.
Distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good day. The UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on December 10, 1948, and 2 years later declared December 10th the Human Rights Day. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is based upon human liberty and equality, and the first document in history that details 30 fundamental human rights. It is also the most widely translated document, available in more than 500 languages. Human rights is a universal value that has been recognized as the foundation of freedom, justice, peace, and security, as well as of the sustainable development of human society. Inspired by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations adopted the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 1966. To further clarify and act upon the spirit of human rights, the two covenants and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights combined into the International Bill of Human Rights, the most important human rights bill in the world, and the very foundation of international human rights law. On this important day, we are once again reminded that every human being is endowed with fundamental human rights. No person or public power should infringe or deprive others of their basic human rights. These rights should be respected, protected, and jointly defended. American human rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, said human rights violations harm us all. Only when human rights are recognized and honored will peace be achieved. Respect for human rights is the common linkage between democratic nations. However, fundamental human rights are violated in many parts of the world. Human rights defenders, following the calling of conscience, are taking to the street and demanding that public authorities respect and protect citizens' civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. The calling of human rights is heard. Everyone is urged to take immediate action for the future of their country. Human rights are at the core of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without human dignity. We have to create equal opportunities in order to achieve sustainable goals. We are determined to take actions to protect human rights and remain united as we recover from the pandemic and go beyond into a brighter future. The United Nations is calling on world citizens to stand up for human rights and put human rights in the center of the post-pandemic world, urging social reforms to create an international community built upon freedom and fearlessness with more inclusiveness, resilience, and equality. The world is now full of uncertainties and challenges. Global problems such as war, environmental changes, extreme climate patterns, excessive exploitations of resources, and unequal distribution have provoked the COVID-19 pandemic and Mother Nature to fight back, causing unpredictable and devastating disasters for mankind. In the chaos, human rights are under immediate threat from special interests and corrupt government bureaucracy. The chaos stems from the same root. Michelle Bachelet, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said there is a vaccine to hunger, poverty, inequality, and possibly, if it is taken seriously, to climate change, as well as to many of other ills that face humanity. The name of that vaccine is human rights. We should properly apply the human rights vaccine to help us build more resilient, prosperous, and inclusive societies. Our common humanity is rooted in human rights, equality, justice, and freedom. These core values need to be reiterated, heard, put into practice. Then the human society will be able to avoid violence and achieve stability and peace. Under the doctrine of cause and effect, just like the rule of heaven and earth, wrongdoers will eventually bear the consequence. To find solutions, it is necessary to go back to the root cause of the problem and change the root cause. Heart is the root cause of our problems. Selfishness causes people to forget the respect between people. True human rights attainment requires basic respect among people. There will be no peace, equality, democracy, and fraternity with no human rights. Human rights comes from conscience. Conscience is the origin of all virtues. Compassion is the footing of morality. Human rights is based upon conscience and love. Humanity is connected with compassion. French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau said a principle of justice and virtue exists in the depth of soul. This is conscience. In recognition that conscience is the key to change the world, the UN General Assembly declared April 5th the International Day of Conscience in 2019. In recognition that love and peace is the most important foundation for sustainable development and mankind's common well-beings, the Federation of World Peace and Love promoted the declaration of International Day of Conscience to urge people to seek win-win solutions with peace and harmony in order to solve national and international crises. All world citizens are encouraged to nurture love in their hearts, to strike a balance in the pursuit of economic, social, cultural, spiritual, technological, and educational development. Conscience is the most needed universal vaccine. On Human Rights Day, we look forward to working with states, organizations, and world citizens to protect, promote, and practice human rights as we meet challenges with creative and effective solutions. On the path to securing universal human rights, we need to have faith, merit, strength, and courage to overcome obstacles as we work hand in hand with like-minded, and to continue the work of securing a human rights-friendly environment. We need to focus on the collective well-being inherent to our conscience. That creates sustainability and a united world with human rights, dignity, peace, equality, freedom, stability, and happiness. May we all have peace and health. May the world have prosperity and harmony.
Thank you, Dr. Hong. To be in line with universal values, Taiwanese government and society has been devoted to human rights reform and transitional justice. However, there are some officials still depriving Taiwanese human rights. Taijimen is a famous spiritual group in Taiwan, which has been persecuted by the Taiwanese government for 25 years. The Administrative Enforcement Agency took Taijimen's land, which was supposed to be the location for the self-cultivation facility, in August 2020. People's freedom in belief, as well as their right to live, own property, and be free of terror, are abused by the tax violence. Today, I would like to invite two Taijimen deeds to share their experience and viewpoints. First, let's welcome the economist Juselia Lin.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my life, I'm very proud to be an economist and a Taijimen deed. As an economist, I did a lot of research of the global economy to accomplish suggestion reports for Taiwan governments. Taiwan's economy actually has had a great performance under many enterprises' efforts. However, we all live in one world. The issue of climate change and human rights violations are our common difficulties and eagerly need to be solved, because climate change and human rights violations are severely impacting our global economy. December 10th is Human Rights Day. The date was chosen to honor the United Nations General Assembly's adoption and proclamation. As a Taijimen deed, I have some opportunities to go abroad with our Grandmaster, Dr. Hong Daozi, to actively spread the idea of love and peace and promote world peace in countries with love. We spent over 20 years and our own money to visit 101 countries and influence many visionary leaders of this world. Dr. Huang especially has been invited to attend international conferences of Chief Justice of the world in India for many years. Dr. Huang led his deeds to attend this very important conference every year. We have met a lot of justice and presidents from many countries. Most of them made commitments and ring the bell of peace for a harmonious and prosperous world. We all hope this world is full of love and peace without human rights violations. Taiwan is famous as a democratic country. However, the fabricated prosecution of the Taijimen case started in 1996. The prosecution, due to the illegally revoked tax bills for 24 years, has made the case an iconic indicator of human rights violation in Taiwan. On December 19, 1996, Prosecutor Quan Ho unlawfully detained the Grandmaster of Taijimen and fabricated an indictment. The National Taxation Bureau issued unjustified tax bills based on the fabricated indictments. In 2002, the Control Yuan, on its own accord, started to investigate Prosecutor Quan Ho's handling of the Taijimen case and outlined 8 major violations of law. On July 13, 2007, the third instance ruling of the criminal court specified that Taijimen is not guilty. Taijimen did not commit tax evasion and did not violate the Tax Collection Act. Those earlier faithfully detained Taijimen deeds and Grandmaster were ruled to be compensated by the nation. At the end of 2019, the National Taxation Bureau corrected the tax amount for the year 1991 and the years 1993 to 1996 to zero, based on the Spring Administrative Court judgments in 2018 and the Taipei High Administrative Court's decision in 2014. However, the National Taxation Bureau violates the principle of consistency by imposing unjustified taxes on Taijimen for the year 1992 and transferring the case for compulsory enforcement. By collecting unjustified taxes, the National Taxation Bureau is committing the crime of unlawful expropriation under Article 129 of the Criminal Code. Justice cannot be compromised. The National Taxation Bureau should return justice to Taijimen and let taxpayers' human rights prevail in Taiwan. Taijimen case provides a good example to judge what is right and wrong and know the importance of human rights. If everyone knows the importance of human rights and try to protect human rights with conscience, and then we all can live in a harmonious and a prosperous world. Thank you. May you all be blessed with health and happiness.
Thank you, Juselia. Taijimen case has provoked global concern in recent years. Many international experts are curious about how the persecution could exist in Taiwan, which is known as the most democratic and liberal country in Asia. Next, let's see the international experts' views on Taijimen case.
I am interested as a sociologist of religion who's been studying new religions in why people think that they ought to be singled out, and was Taijimen seen as a cult, and how did they differ from other Qigong groups. Former legislator Miss Xu made it absolutely clear to me that there was nothing special about Taijimen that would make them subject of such treatment. They were irrelevant almost. It was the tax office that I needed to understand. But I also now realize that there is actually something special about Taijimen. They're what my grandmother, who was a sort of fierce Scot, would call bloody-minded. They're not going to give up. They're gutsy. They're uncompromising. They're fighting not just for their own rights, but also for those of others, for Taiwan, and for the belief in the abstract concept of human rights, trying to make sure that it's a concrete reality that can be enjoyed throughout the world. Thank you, Taijimen. Good luck. Don't give up.
Without observance and adherence to the rule of law, then we have lawlessness. And that is what happened, in my opinion, in the Taijimen tax case. I have studied the Taijimen tax case for many years. I've read many documents related to the Taijimen tax case. And I believe that I have not seen more abuse of power than I have in the Taijimen tax case. And when government officials abuse power, it affects not only the victims of that abuse, but it affects all of us, because that means that the rule of law is not being followed. And that falls on all of us, whether the direct targets of that abuse or not.
They have been taught never to compromise, whatever the price to pay. Integrity, dignity, respect, compassion, love, and peace are at the heart of their values and of their lives. But some people and institutions have shamelessly violated their human rights to justice. The DC are the best ambassadors of Taijimen's teachings to the outside world, because they are the living testimonies that their spiritual values can regenerate individuals and society. This is a major contribution of Taijimen to the spread of human rights in Taiwan. This is also a precious asset for the Taiwanese society and the image of the country abroad. But the National Taxation Bureau and its ally, Prosecutor Hu, nicknamed the Judicial Rambo, stubbornly remain deaf to their call for justice.
They claim that for 1992, the appeal terms had expired. But of course, there is no appeal term when decisions are grossly unjust. They can always be revised. In conclusion, what is happening now? Now the tax office is insisting with its bill for 1992 and threatens to seize properties of Taijimen and auction them, which will cause enormous harm to Taijimen and to freedom of belief. It's not about money. Taijimen has spent more in legal expenses than what will pay if they paid the tax bill for 92. It's about principle. They didn't commit any wrongdoing, and they don't want to admit this. It will be false.
L'affaire Taijimen a révélé les failles fondamentales de l'État de droit et la façon dont le pouvoir de l'État a été détourné ou même abusé. Les représentants du gouvernement ont violé de nombreuses dispositions de procédure régulière dans l'affaire Taijimen. Taïwan a gagné la sympathie de nombreux pays et organisations dans le monde pour la défense des droits démocratiques en Asie de l'Est et la gestion transparente et efficace de la crise du Covid-19. Il est grand temps que cette vieille situation soit résolue en garantissant aux membres de Taijimen leurs droits humains et leur dignité et leur liberté de religion.
I think that we should all stand by Taijimen because, again, as the video brilliantly said, the battle of Taijimen is the battle for the most important, most essential human right, religious freedom, is the battle for freedom, is the battle for liberty, is the battle for justice, it is the battle for equal treatment of all before the law.
Next, let's welcome the second speaker, the retiree from the electronic industry, Philip Wang.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Wang, and I am Taijimen Dizi. Over 20 years ago, I suffered a long-term stomach ache due to high work pressure, and I have been affected a lot. After my family brought me to practice Qigong in Taijimen, and I got healed. Taijimen is like my home, and I have been learning how to moderate my temper, strengthening my body, and learn to share my thoughts. I also follow Dr. Hong Daozi to many countries to promote the idea of love and peace through cultural exchanges. In the past decades, Dr. Hong Daozi and Dizi have traveled through the 5 continents and 101 countries around the world. We are completely know at our own course and on our day off to complete challenging mission, which has been greatly appreciated by others. I remember in year 2000, President Chen Shui-bian and the government asked for all-out diplomacy, which means the government and the people must work together to let the world see us. In April year 2001, Taijimen hosted the World Citizen Forum in Taiwan at the Grand Hotel Taipei. More than 400 important guests from more than 50 countries around the world to come to Taiwan and participated in the great event, which received great feedback. We are also invited 10 times by the government, and we performed 8 times great cultural performance in front of the Presidential Palace. In that year, we visited Africa for a love and peace cultural exchange. We visited more than 10 countries in 22 days. I was deeply impressed for what had happened in the 3 countries. We stayed in Ethiopia for a short time and had some exchange with the local NGO. I know a senior 80 years old who was chairman of the Writer Association. He told us that love and peace is very important. His family all died in the First World War, and then he experienced the pain of the Second World War. He deeply understands the horror of the war and the importance of the human rights. After that, we visit the Republic of Sao Tome and Principe. President Menes rang the bell of love and peace. and made his wish for children's smile. In the following years, when His Excellency went abroad for cooperation of oil field development, Satome and Principe underwent a coup thanks to the assistance of the Africa Union countries to eliminate the rebellion. After his safe return, President Menes implemented the wishes for peace he had made and amnested his political opponent, and the country was once again peaceful and united. After that, we visited Senegal. President Ward received us at his resort and rang the bell of peace. He emphasized the meaning of the ringing the bell and the importance of peace when he was making a wish, because during colonial period of his country, many people were forced into slavery in other countries. We had visited the prison and it was terrible. Later, during the conflict of the two neighboring countries, Chad Republic and Sudan, His Excellency stood up to mediate the two countries to stop the war. I have been experienced the cultural performance exchange, visiting so many places and seeing so many important leaders in the world. We awaken our conscience and love in our hearts, and we do the right things by actual efforts and defend human rights. We are trying to end the world, and we promote the love and the peace. However, behind the efforts and the glorious achievements, Taijimen has been under pressure and suppressed by our government. In 1996, the prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren falsely accused Dr. Hong as raising gatherings, and as early as year 2007, Supreme Court, the third instance verdict, determined Taijimen criminal case innocent and tax-free, and Dizi red envelope to Shifu was determined as gift. The defendants also received compensation from the state. Judicial have finally returned Taijimen innocence, but tax official falsely accused Taijimen as a crime school and kept issuing tax bill just because of they have bonus. On 21st August 2020, the Administrative Enforcement Agency and the National Tax Bureau had jointly falsely auctioned our Miaoli land, which is pain in my heart.
Thank you, Philip. According to Article 1 of the Universal Declaration, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. As early as 2007, Taijimen was declared not guilty and tax-free in the third instance of the Supreme Court, and even received compensation from the government. The state also certified the case as a significant human rights violations case, After 25 years, there is still no way to reject a case that was recognized innocent by the government and the 5 yuans. Not to mention that the officials who violated the law and abused power in this case were not punished. The officials protect and covered for each other and even got promoted all the way. Isn't this the biggest joke as a democratic country? Many people have since passed away before justice came. We request that the officials promptly withdraw the fraudulent tax bills and return the illegally taken property and justice to Taijimen. I wish that everyone can follow their conscience, respect human rights, and be united and tolerant so that the world can move toward peace and happiness. Thank you.